D.Colin is a poet, activist, and an educator. You may have seen her at your local open mic, aka Poetic Vibe, when Troy Kitchen was active, or at a protest fighting for many different rights. Colin has been featured on PBS as well as NPR Radio. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the one and only D.Colin. How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm well. Thank you for coming. We're so excited to have you.
Happy to be here.
Wonderful, wonderful. So tell me, you're an educator. So tell us, how has education empowered you as a human?
My own education or working in education? Well, I guess I could answer on both ends.
Yeah, let's touch upon both.
Well, for me, growing up, education was really important in my household. My parents, they were really strict about my grades and getting the work done. And so I was really invested in learning. I also was always looking for what I wasn't learning in school. There were just things that we weren't taught. And so I was the kid who was always in the library, scouring for Black literature and looking for the things that, I was asking questions about in the classroom and wasn't getting answers for. So I was an avid reader growing up. And I think reading more than anything really empowered me to write and also see the world in new ways that I wasn't learning in school. It also, like that lack, of what I was learning in school, that's what led me to pursue a degree in Africana Studies. I wanted to fill gaps where, students who look like me weren't learning the things that I didn't learn. I wanted to break that kind of cycle. Mm-hmm. And so I got a master's in Africana Studies so that I could not only really understand what I was doing as a writer in Black literature, but also I could share knowledge on Black literature with other people. Definitely. As far as when I am teaching, I learn a lot from the people who are in the room. You see a teacher and you think, the teacher is there to teach, but really, it's a learning experience for everybody in the space, especially if you're doing it right. Because education is not about someone, talking at you. It's really about opening up the mind and the imagination so everybody can, learn something and we can discover things together.
I agree. I definitely have had teachers that I'll think to myself, why are you here? You know what I mean? And I don't mean it like that, but it's just you're not teaching it the way you should be. You might be just teaching for your paycheck. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I understand we all need money, but you got in this business to empower children, while as opposed to having different teachers who instantly you sit down with them for 10 minutes and you know exactly what they're saying. Mm-hmm. And you're inspired to do more. You go home and you're like, oh my gosh, you know what I did when I got home yesterday? And they're just like, I know, because I know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Yeah. But they're not telling you that. They just, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, students should come in the classroom excited about education. And it's hard to do that when the teachers aren't excited anymore. Mm-hmm. about why they entered education in the first place. There is also, there are a lot of teachers out there who are burnt out. Mm-hmm. And with good reason.
Most definitely.
So, yeah. And I like that I get to go in a bunch of different classrooms now as an artist. It's a different kind of education, going from a classroom teacher to a teaching artist. I can go into a classroom now and I teach exactly what I want, right? And I get to have these amazing conversations with young people, and honestly, people of all ages. I've done workshops with adults and college students and high school students, middle school students, third graders,
Wow.
So it's really cool to see people at different levels and different ages, and they get to experience poetry and art in different ways, and I get to just go in the classroom and show them what I know.
Yeah. Now, what kind of workshops do you offer?
I offer poetry writing workshops. I also offer performance workshops, folks who folks who are shy, new to the stage. I help, I coach you on ways to, conquer the stage. And I've also worked with programs that teach art. Recently, I've been, in the past year, I've been doing work with Amplified Voices, and Amplified Voices, I do a poetry workshop, but the poetry workshop is to inspire art, visual art for murals. So there's several murals in the capital region right now. It's because of Amplified Voices and that work. So yeah, that's what I offer. Most of the time, it's a poetry workshop, though.
'Cause I love my poetry.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, for the visual murals that you were mentioning, are they the people who created the one down on Hoosick Street?
Jade is the one who is the lead artist for the Uniting the Line mural. That's the one that you're talking about under the bridge at Hoosick.
Yes.
And Jade is also the person, the brainchild behind Amplified Voices.
Wow.
And so, and it's been a pleasure to really see Amplified Voices like start as an idea last year
grow.
to just grow into this whole thing, and collaborating with Jade and Eugene, and seeing them work and bring young people together, and then pulling other artists in like myself to come and work with young people, and then seeing the young people come up with all these amazing ideas and then paint. And now, like, people can drive by and see their art on a wall, and they can say, I did that. I painted this part, I had something to do with this. Was my idea here. It's just amazing.
No, it's absolutely beautiful. I stare at it every time I'm driving by. So how do you plan to make sure children who have outside distractions at home still succeed? How are you going to make your way into the school systems without, like, not on the education side, you know what I mean? Like, as, if you get elected to city council.
Well, if I get elected as city council, I'm not walking away from the work I already do. So I'll still be a teaching artist. I'll still be a poet. I'll still be performing. I'll still be doing all that work, because that's what I do.
Yeah.
So I won't be walking away from that. However, because I come from a background of working with young people, also working with different organizations, collaborating in different programming, I feel like I have a lot of experience in, creating community spaces. And we need more of those. We need more spaces where people can feel empowered and where people can connect with each other. I think that communities are strong when we are able to communicate and connect. When we don't know each other and we're not talking to each other and we make assumptions about whoever is doing what, that distance, that gap creates other things. And so if we can connect and on a deeper level as a community through programming, through things that the city is providing, through opening up a pool, for example, something as simple as that.
Yes.
It sounds so simple, right? But those things provide spaces for people to connect. And in my experience, when people connect, we just do better.
Yes, definitely. And as a community, if we're not connected and talking, we're not going to be able to come together and make a difference.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. I agree. So what has being a multidisciplinary artist taught you about yourself?
I am a go-getter.
There you go. Come on, one more time.
I am a go-getter. I dream really big, and it's not easy. Some of my dreams scare me, but there's this quote that I really love, and it goes like, if your dreams do not scare you, they are not big enough.
Yes.
And that's by Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, first woman president of Liberia. Obviously, she was a big dreamer too.
Most definitely.
So yeah, I dream really, really big, and I don't leave it at the dream. I go get it. I figure it out and make it work type of person. And I think to be like a full-time artist, you have to be. It's a different kind of hustle. because I can't depend on like just a paycheck, whether I'm into my work or not. I gotta like make it work. And for me, it's just about following my passion. I'm really passionate about being an artist. I'm really passionate about the art that I put out into the world. For me, it's like it's part of the way that I inspire people, but it's also part of my legacy. And so, yeah, go-getter. That's it. Period.
I believe D.Colin is someone who realized the world is bigger than her.
Absolutely. Absolutely. World is bigger than me. And me doing what I feel called to do is my service to the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yes. So has COVID affected the way people would typically campaign? What did you end up having to do anything different?
That's an interesting question because this is my first time campaigning. So.
Right. And of course it would have to be during COVID times.
Right. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I'd have to ask somebody, like, what does this really look like? I do know, like, as far as knocking on doors, it has been an amazing experience, knocking on doors and talking to people and listening to issues, concerns that folks have, stuff that they want to see happen in Troy, particularly in my district, in Lansingburg. And it's been really, really cool to see the enthusiasm, too. I've gotten high fives, it's just, it's really, really nice to meet people and have conversations. And then, after all those conversations, you realize we are really all after the same thing.
One more time.
We are all after the same thing. And oftentimes we just don't know each other.
Yes.
And it's like, oh, you want this and I want this, and we should be talking to each other so we can get the thing that we want, which is the same thing.
Yes.
So yeah, I don't know if it's been different for other people as far as campaigning, people who've campaigned before, but I've had a really exciting time just meeting people.
Now, what is it like running for city council as not only a Black person, but a woman? That's 2 strikes. You know what I mean?
I mean, for me, it's no different than anything else I have to do as a Black woman. I feel that, and there have been times in my life where, stuff happens because I'm Black, or stuff happens because I'm a woman, or the combination of those 2 things, and how they intersect. And I don't approach anything as like I can't do this because I'm Black or I'm a woman. I'm gonna go get it, and I already said go get it, but I'm gonna go get it. Despite what the world might say, about who I am or parts of my identity that people have attached stereotypes to, or have assumptions about the person I am. I encourage people to come and meet me and talk to me, and you'll realize that I have a lot of hope for my community. I'm not here with an agenda. I'm a community member who wants to see something different.
Yeah. To touch upon, not thinking that you can't do something because of your color. My mother always told me, your destination, you manifest that, and it's in your hands. You control your destiny. So it's like, I definitely agree with that. Never thought because of the color of my skin I couldn't get something. I'm like, what do you mean? I never. So
yeah, and you don't know until you try.
There you go. That's a fact. Yes.
Until you try. And that's not to say that we're not still dealing with white supremacy and racism and sexism. It's all still real, right? But it's not gonna hold me back from trying.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's right. Now, does the lack of diversity in city council, discourage you?
Absolutely not. I'm fired up. It's part of why I'm running.
Yes.
I think representation is really important. It's part of the reason why I'm getting a high five when I knock on somebody's door. you're running for city council? Really? And that surprise is because of lack of representation. Yes. People are not expecting someone who looks like me to be running for city council. So, and that's not just there. Like, when I was teaching, when I was teaching high school, I was teaching middle school. One of the things and even when I was working in, nonprofit organizations, I used to show up to work with my fro picked out. Especially if most of my students are black. I worked at an all-girls school, and it does something. It does something when you see
yourself in someone else.
Yes, absolutely. When you see yourself in art, when you see yourself in your teacher, when you see yourself even at the doctor's office, it makes a difference when you see yourself represented. And it also, I think, opens up the possibilities in the imagination of what's possible, right? We see somebody else do something who looks like us, and then we're like, oh, okay, I could actually do that too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Literally. Now, what is the hardest part about gaining support?
That's a good question. I don't think I've ever thought of it.
Come on, hitting you with them hitters here.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever thought of what the hardest part is. I mean, really, it's, I just need people to get involved. That's it. You know what? The hardest part, as far as like for running for city council, I think the hardest part is engaging people or re-engaging people in the voting process after they've been disengaged. And disengaged for, a number of different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
We vote, we're told that voting matters, and then you vote, and then, you don't really see sustainable change in your community, and you're wondering, why vote again, right? So I think that, that might be the biggest challenge is, encouraging people to try it again. Try it this time, and let's see what happens,
Because we're living in different times.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Things are changing. Laws are being reformed. I definitely think that people as a whole should just come together and go vote. Yeah.
Yeah. And there are a lot of folks who are running who don't consider themselves politicians. They're not running because they really, are passionate about politics. They're running because they've been in the community already. They've been doing this work, and they want to leave an impact or have a deeper impact in a different way, and this is a different way to do that. So
most definitely. Yeah. So what are 3 steps that we should implement in order to get District 1 back on track?
3 steps. Well, one thing that I've been talking a lot about is the amount of abandoned homes, empty houses, boarded up houses. It's not just in District 1. It's, something that you can see throughout the capital region. But I think that is really important for us to empower people and provide resources to revitalize those homes. And also, for the empty storefronts, it's really important for us to empower people, for small businesses to come into those spaces as well. This area is so full of talent. It's so full of talent, and a lot of people who are out here, doing a lot of work, a lot of great work, and giving them spaces to do that even more, and resources to do that, I think is a beautiful thing, and something that we should be chasing. So those are two things that I really want to see. I want to see families being able to move into these homes, and also small businesses to move into these empty spaces. And I want to see revitalization of some of the parks and programs that can happen in them. I'm really invested in my particular district. I'm really invested in 112th Street Park, and what could happen there, what it could look like, and what programs could, happen there as well for young people and people of all ages. And this is all at the root of all of it. Everything that I'm talking about is just centered on community work.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just centered on community. And if we can find new ways to bring community together, then we're on the right track.
That park is huge, and they do not utilize it to its full extent. I truly agree.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of parks that we could use more.
Oh yeah, definitely. But that one,
so
I
nice.
always look at the one. I'm just like, it just sits here.
Yeah.
We don't have anything going on in it. Random people are just sitting there, sleeping in there. We can make something of that area. So I definitely agree. So please tell us how you plan to decrease the violence that has been reoccurring in Troy.
I think collaboration is a big thing. There are a lot of organizations that are doing work to, decrease violence.
Yes.
I'm really interested in what it could look like for the city to collaborate with those organizations and for those organizations to collaborate with each other. I think the more we work together, the more we decrease violence, right? And, people have great ideas, right? They have great ideas. They just need backing. Mm-hmm. And if they have backing, then we can put a dent, a real dent in what we see as violence. The other thing too is, not dealing with violence when it happens. Yeah. Dealing with figuring out, ways to prevent it in the first place. Yeah. So prevention is a big thing.
Now, I read that you are from Bridgeport, Connecticut.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, someone who isn't a native of the capital region, why is the betterment of Troy so very important to you?
Because Troy is my home. Troy is my home, and I care about where I live, and I think that, in my experience anyway, generally people care more about where they live when they see the administration of their city really care. And you can see that in visible ways, right? Mm-hmm. Once you start to see that, then people become even more invested. But I came to the capital region as a graduate student, and I found family here, and I grew up in Connecticut, but I grew up here too, mm-hmm. in a lot of ways. And so this area, like the capital region, has become my home, and I love Troy. And I know that Troy can be even more than what it is now. And so I want people to really enjoy Troy, the Troy that I enjoy. And I know that we can enjoy it even on another level if we just do this work.
Yeah. Shout out to Enjoy Troy.
Oh, yeah.